Yo, welcome back. Before we get into the review, unfortunately, we lost somebody this week. Certain people, especially in the film, TV realm, that you look up to and see. I don't know what it is, but that person has talent right there. And so, um, unfortunately, we lost this individual, Michael K. Williams. He passed away this week. And um, sometimes people don't know individuals' names. Like it'd be like Uncle Phil, right? Like you might not know his real name, but Uncle Phil, he does something to you right there. So, Michael K. Williams played a character that's iconic. He's in easily top 10 TV series of all time. Some would argue top five. And I speak on he's Omar from The Wire, man. That acting role of especially playing somebody who's gay but a thug and killed everybody, right? Like those two dynamics never crossed paths until you saw this character and what he portrayed. So I want to give shout out to Michael K. Williams, and I would like to do, basically a little moment of silence for him and his family, and we're gonna get on with the review.
Hey, cornbread review off the bat, bro. You might not like my review then, man. Yeah, so all in all, man, I ended up coming up 2.5 out of 5. Two of them things. Yo. 5 out of 5 cornbreads for the cornbread review. What you think?
Yo, welcome back. Hey, we are here with another Cornbread Movie review. I appreciate y'all. I told y'all every week I'm dropping back to back to back to back to back. Sometimes even on Wednesdays I'm dropping TV series as well. So make sure you like and subscribe, and please catch up, man. Like I said, this is a movement right here. I get a lot of people hitting me up like, when are you gonna drop your new episode? What you mean? I drop one every week, right? But they don't have notifications on. So make sure you do that, please. I'll give you a few seconds. I ain't got to watch, but I'll give you a few seconds. Make sure you subscribe. And then next to the subscription, there's a bell right there. Turn it on all so you get all my content coming to you, man. So we are back with another episode. I get requests a lot, and this one is no different. So today, we are here for Shang Chi and the Legend of the Rings. Yes, this is another Marvel movie. A couple housekeeping rules. See my phone going off. I don't know what's going on. A couple of housekeeping rules. This movie is in theaters. PG-13 is 2 hours and about 10 minutes. So, I would say use the bathroom before you go watch it, because it's not really a short movie either. But we're here. If this is the first time you were at a Cornbread Movie review, just make sure you understand that I do my categories in 5 different categories, right? So just because you say, oh, this movie's the best movie, I got to break it down why I feel like that's the best or it's the worst, right? And then I tally it all up and you get my overall Cornbread Movie review. So we have acting. So who is in this movie? We got Simu Liu. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. So to me, his character is, you see him as an adult when the movie first starts, and he plays, I would say, a person who's kind of lost in the ethers of this Marvel world. He's just going through the motions, right? He didn't reach his full potential, but at least he has a buddy who didn't reach their full potential too. So they're just living their life, right? Now, this actor, when it was time for action, fight scenes, sign him up. I'll sign him up in another karate movie, right? Another action movie. He played that part to the T. Unfortunately, though, when there's time for emotion, sadness, conflict, confusion, all the little nuances of acting, you need the whole scope. I feel like he kind of dropped the ball to me. Now, the person who I think carried that on all those aspects of acting, his name is Tony Leung, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right as well. To me, he was really the character who played every aspect of acting. From let's say loss to depression to obsession. He was ruthless, a conqueror, and he was loving too, just in a couple scenes. But like I said, he played the father, but he also played the villain. and just the, I guess, the king in their world, right? So to me, he carried the acting chops in every scene because he also did the hand-to-hand combat scenes too. So I think with them together, before I give my acting ranking for this, I want to say this. I think it was unfair to them because Marvel always does this, and I don't understand it. Every serious scene, it's always a comedy incorporated in every serious scene. Like they don't let any of the real "I gotta talk to you, son," and they never let those scenes simmer and just fade to the next scene. It's always got to be funny, and I don't like that. It's not comedy relief is not always warranted or adds to the scene every time, man. So unfortunately, that did them a disservice in my acting category. So overall, for acting, they get a 3.5 out of 5 from me. All right. Cinematography is the next category. This budget was 150 million. Like I said, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes, which we'll get into if that's good or bad in the storytelling. Next category, but cinematography, they had the budget, they had the time frame. This takes place in I was going to say South Carolina, in San Francisco. Come on, man. San Francisco, California, and Talo and Macau. You know, these are different places where you could tell there's a lot of green screen. Now, some of the scenes, green screen, I think worked in their favor. Like if you take the building fight scene, right? Like I really love that scene. It was very creative. It made you feel like you were there. Other scenes when they're just in the forest and it's really only 20 people there, but you feel like there's a whole forest behind them and rocks and all this stuff. Like, come on, man, you could tell there's a lot of CGI. Even so, I really like the animals, but some of the animals just, why are we just making up animals? I don't know. It felt very like Wakanda-ish, but let's make it fairy tale-ish, right? So if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So a lot of green screen, hand-to-hand combat. Good job. It was believable, right? Like you could tell that these actors put a lot of time in this. I only saw maybe one or two stunt doubles, which is a good thing of the lot of action that I saw, right? So great job on at least masking those stunt doubles or really having those actors really go over the choreography and get it down to a T so that it's flawless, right? When they're fighting and it's hand to hand, it's like a choreographed, elegant dance, man. And I would say I was very impressed by how they filmed each fight scene for the most part. So good job with that. I would say a lot of the elements around them and moving the wind and the trees and the water and fire and stuff like that made you feel like you in the last Airbender. I think this is how the Airbender should have been filmed. That's a movie from years ago that just tanked. But how they film these certain scenes and things like that, I would say that's how the Airbender should have been. So good job to their editing team. Kudos. They had a current track list. So these are all hitting points. It didn't max out my cinematography category, but it did pretty well on this. You know, Marvel usually does pretty well on cinematography, man. So overall, they get a 4.5 out of 5 for cinematography for me, man. So next category, storytelling. Now, this is a Marvel movie. We just talked about that. It takes place, I guess, the beginning of 1996, kind of when Tony Stark created Iron Man, right? It's along at the beginning of that time frame, but then it jumps back to current day now of after Thanos. They call it the blip happened. You know, half of the people from the Earth died, but they end up coming back. So it takes place in current day. They bring up different references from different movies to say that, yeah, we all understand the concept of it. Some of us came back from that, right? So the problem is, I think it was too much storytelling. What do I mean by that? Every scene that wasn't action, they're telling you about, well, back in the 1350s, we have this, all of that just to say to the next scene, right? And then they fight, and then when they go to a cutscene where it's none of that, back in the 1500s, there was this, and we have to tell you all this information so that you get this next scene, right? It was setup scene after setup scene after setup scene. It became overwhelming to me. I'm like, come on, man, we're cramming all this made up knowledge of this person's story, which I didn't read the comic books of Shang Chi, anything about it. So excuse my ignorance if I missed some of the things and I don't know that, but it feels like it just overwhelming me with storytelling of, okay, I understand now, I know where the next part of the movie is going, right? It became predictable at that point. So that is a negative on my end. I would also say a couple flaws. With all that storytelling, it still felt incomplete. So if they're going to have a second movie to this, I would say some of that information could be used for the second movie. Now, if you're not going to have a second movie, then cram it all in there. I would understand it, but to me, it's Marvel. They're never just going to have one movie, especially the movie that's selling a lot. So I don't know, man. Some more unanswered questions. Well, first off, the 10 rings were very unfair. Whoever created those are beasts. Very unfair. They were just killing everybody or conquering. They just let people do what they do. Really, there was no villain to the 10 rings. Even though he was the villain, there was no good guy to stop the 10 rings, right? Especially back in the days when they talked about the storytelling. So that was overpowered. I don't understand how you have the bad guy at the time, the 10 ring guy. You just go to a random place in the world that's hidden and just speak the same language that he was speaking, and they spoke that language, right? Like, come on, man. Like, that's very inconsistent of how the world is and their storytelling, right? They make up languages all throughout the Marvel universe. So come on, make up a different language for this made up town that he went to go visit. So that was inconsistency. Now they said that the father is 1,000 years old. Okay, I'll give you that. The rings give him power. Now, he didn't have the rings on for a lot of years, which I'm not going to give all the spoilers away, but he didn't have the rings on for a lot of years. Did he age? Why didn't he die? Because he was already older, right? Like, that's the inconsistencies of telling me that the rings have power when you have them on, but when he didn't have them on, he didn't age anymore. So that's another hole that I had an issue with. Also, let's talk about the main character. All right, let's also talk about the main character. He followed his father in everything that he did. He didn't have a problem with it. He even said he carried out the one mission that caused this whole thing to start, but then he just runs away, right? Like, it's not consistent with, he didn't hate that he was going through this transformation, but he just magically runs away, right? It's like, come on, it doesn't, and he never had that conversation with his father. He just ran away. So it felt very made up conflict, when even if I'm not saying that the conflict isn't real, but the trajectory of the conflict wouldn't have happened, and they just made it happen, right? So that's what I'm getting at. We've seen this story plenty of times where people are slaves and they hate their fathers or whoever made them like this, and they, let's say Ninja Assassin, if you've seen that, that's kind of the same storyline, but this wasn't like that, right? So inconsistency on that. And then I would say the bad guys have no defense, bro. Why does every bad guy get hit with every left punch, kick, shot, everything else, but yet these 2 or 3 individuals in the main movie could dodge everything, right? Like, come on, man. That's one of my pet peeves that I don't like. You want me to believe it's realistic, but yet all the bad guys suck. Come on. Even the main bad guys suck. So with all those negatives in storytelling, a lot of unanswered questions, I have to give this a 2.5 out of 5 in the storytelling category for me, okay? Next category. Did I get what I bought? Meaning, going into it, clear mind, I'm watching Shang Chi and the Legend of 10 Rings. Did I come out knowing, okay, that's what I got? Once again, this movie is $10 to $15, so it's not like it's $29.99 or $50 or something like that. So pretty priced. It's in, I'll get to it's in theaters, like I said at the beginning. Throughout the movie, I had a lot of other movie vibes, references. I don't know if they paid homage to these movies or they were biting these movies, which is a problem. So I got Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I got Dragon Ball Z. I got Godzilla. I got Mortal Kombat. I got all these different movies, And Marvel usually does a great job in creating their own genre of storytelling and movie vibes. But to this, it was like they just ripped other movies and just put it together and just made up their own, right? Also, there's a term called jumping the shark. Shout out to my guy, Hightower. I give him a shout out. He let me know what this phrase was years ago. So the phrase is jumping the shark, meaning we're going left the whole time. This is my left, going left the whole time, and then we just say, all right, we just gonna go right for no reason, right? Doesn't make sense. So what I mean by that is this movie Jump Shark is Disney and Marvel, yes, they're the same, but they're still separate entities. Marvel is more, hey, you have regular individuals who become superheroes, like the Iron Mans, like the Spider-Mans, like Captain America, all this stuff. Yes, they have aliens too, and sometimes, but I could be a Marvel character. It's hard for me to be a DC character because you have Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Superwoman. So that's a little bit different on what's the difference between DC and Marvel. Now, Marvel does a great job in saying, hey, anybody could be one of our characters, right? Now, I say, what does that have to do with Disney? Disney's more of anime, more of Pixar. So they have all the Dungeons and Dragons and stuff that that's made up, but I accept it because that's that Disney world. They combined the two on this movie. And I'm not going to say obviously what happened, but I didn't like it. It just didn't make sense to me. Why certain things were happening towards the middle and the end, right? So did I get what I bought? I would say 3 out of 5 because I'm like, I went into it and they were on the trajectory the first half of the movie of what I thought I was watching, and then they just went left on me or went right with my analogy. So did I get what I bought? I'm gonna say 3 out of 5, okay? Last category, is it a must-see? I would say this is in theaters. I'm sure it'll probably be on Disney Plus pretty soon, but it's in theaters. It's breaking box office records, or at least it's doing better than other Marvel previous releases. It's an all Asian cast, other than 1 or 2 people, but kudos to that. I know that's very difficult to do. I would say they also committed to, which is a good thing because there's subtitles throughout the whole movie of you're in the feel of, no, this is a different language and a different art. And I think they captured that art and language too. I really like the subtitles, because like I said, you feel like you're part of that culture. One thing I didn't know is there's Chinese names, right? I already know there's Chinese names, but Americanized, let's say you see an Asian and she says her name is Kate. And then they ask you, what's your Chinese name though? And they really have a Chinese name. So to me, that's a cool concept that I don't understand how we don't embrace, or maybe I'm late to the party, but I didn't know that was a thing. So I really like that. I've opened my eyes of no, just because their name is Kate and they're Asian, but they really have a Chinese name. So let me know in the description box if you knew that, or like I said, if I'm late to the party or you didn't know that, but I really appreciate them highlighting that thing. And there's an end credit scene, so make sure you stay after the credits, watch it. And it's actually pretty long, so it's about a minute, so it's pretty good. So is it a must-see? I'm going to say 4.5 out of 5, just based off of those categories. So overall, drum roll, Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings gets a 3.5 out of 5 from the Cornbread Movie review, man. You know me, I'm always going to stay consistent on how I rank each category. Some of y'all out there might love this movie, but this is the reasons why I have to rank it where I rank it. And some of y'all might hate the movie, but I ranked it a little bit higher than you think I should. So let me know in the description box what you think. Check out my 2021 review. I tried to tell y'all that this list is getting long, so I split it into 2. You're going to get my 5s all the way down to my 4s. And then you're going to get anything from 3.5s down to my 2.5s on the second screen. So let me know what you guys think. Now, this is the part of the segment of the Cornbread Movie Review where I got to give you a forgotten segment, bro. Maybe you never heard of this movie, maybe you never seen it, or you definitely have seen it, but you need to double back. In honor of 9/11, I had to bring this movie out, man. This movie is in the same realm of terrorism, man. So to me, this was some of Samuel L. Jackson's best acting. And you can be like, what? Samuel Jackson, someone's back to action. Trust me, he's a beast in this movie. Also, Michael Sheen is in this movie. He plays a villain, but he could be a hero too in his own right. So kudos to him. This movie came out in 2010, and the movie's called Unthinkable. Yes, Unthinkable. Maybe you never heard of it, but trust me. Make sure you go watch this. This is an action drama thriller. It's going to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole movie. Where they're going to go next. Some of the outlandish things of what is America willing to do to get answers, right? Or other countries. So this movie hits all those things. So I'll make sure you check out Unthinkable. Make sure if you want, after my review, go check out Shang Li and the 10 Rings. I love you. I'm going to be back next week. Shout out to Illinois State. Come on, man. I'm always repping. You see it, man. You see it. I love y'all. Make sure you like, subscribe. And then I'll be back next week, too. Peace.